What's going on, y'all? I want to welcome y'all back to the Raw Report. Today's session, we going to have on here Zay the Prophet, life coach, engineer, um, brand designer. Young man doing his thing. He out here trying to help as many people as possible, doing a lot of different things. He has a lot of knowledge. Um, he's a man after God's own heart. So, with no further ado, I want to welcome in Zay the Prophet. What's going on, Zay?
What's up, boss, man? What's up, boss?
Man, you
Honored to be
tell
here,
me.
man. Pleasure to be here.
Hey, no, man, it's a pleasure to have you on, bro. I'm glad that you made time for us. I'm loving that
Oh yeah,
Spread Love
absolutely.
United hoodie, man. When are you dropping
Oh
some more
yeah,
now?
man. Man, it's on the way. It's on the way.
It's
So
on
we
the
got
way.
a fall winter 2025 capsule that'll come back out with the hoodies. So the next drop will more than likely be in the summer. The summer go through our first
Okay.
t-shirt drop. So we're looking forward to that. We're excited about that.
Okay. Hey, look, I'm excited about it too. I need to rock one on the show. That's what's up.
Oh yeah, no,
Um,
I got you first for sure.
oh, for sure. Appreciate it. So look, my first question to you is: you have a deep desire to follow God's heart. Was there a specific time or moment in your season of life when it became clear to you that that's what you wanted to do? That's what you needed to do.
So I would definitely say my faith, my salvation, the decision to pursue God wholeheartedly, it's literally been working at me. Like I can look back at the instances and the seasons of my life in the years that came that literally from the beginning I can see the way that God's love has literally grown. And it's like the more I grow and develop and mature in my mind, the more that I'm growing in the awareness of how much his love is grown. So it's like when I was in middle school, I loved him from a perspective of, being raised in a two-parent household, both of my parents being Christian, and it being an intricate part of our daily routine. Like we woke up every morning, prayed before school, every night before bed, we're praying together and staying in the place of that always being a constant in our home. So then that was like the habits, going to church every week. Both of my parents served, being there twice a week was the consistent normal. When it
So,
came to college, yeah,
oh,
it's a
no,
whole
no,
nother
keep going,
level.
keep going, keep going. When it comes to
Yeah,
college,
yeah, yeah. When I got to college, it was all on me. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that was the point in my faith that really cemented its true foundation because it was on my decisions. It was on the way that I wanted to move and pursue God, and I feel like God was giving me more and more experiences that were making me lean on Him. I didn't have the same support of my parents or my siblings. I needed a new support, and it was like with every elevation, it was a new and deeper desire for more of Him because I saw Him to be my like most solid sustainability as I grew. And yeah, man, as I'm adult now, grown, big man job and all that stuff, it's like baptism last year was the first time in my life I've ever been baptized. So I feel like that was again an opportunity where because of my decisions, it kept me in position by God's grace enough to be close enough to hear him. And I think that he's only gotten louder and louder the more and more I grow more aware of the goodness of him in my life.
so I love everything you just said. So you said grown, like adult, a grown job, grown. You still a young, you still a very young man. So I guess my question to you is, how young? How different is it for you to navigate this space in your faith and letting like wearing God on your shoulders, following after God's heart? Is it different for you? Is it a different move? Are you maneuvering different? Like what's different about that? Because I nowadays, and I'm an older man, so I'm just saying it from a different. I see how older people react to young people, and most young people aren't moving in God or for God. So how is that different for you? How does that look for you?
Yes, I think the way that it looks now has been consistent in my life, but I don't think I put as much value and worth in the confidence of moving the way that I move today. And I think it took life's experiences, my relationship with God, and things around me that I experienced in my personal life that helped to mold that maturity and that sharpness about it. But I think it's not easy. I think it's not easy at all. I mean, you look at your faith alone, that already being a challenge within itself, but then also being the oldest of siblings where they're looking at any and every move that you make. It puts a pressure that's there when you're the first to go to college and accomplish really almost anything. And you're looking at doing that in a way where you don't have as much wiggle room to, I guess you would say, like lean or veer too far off from what God has exposed or shared to be what He made clear to me in vision and dreams very early on, the path that He wanted me on. And I think that before, going through just being in the adolescent stage, going through college, you want to be cool. You want to be like with the culture. You want to go with the flow of everybody else. And I think that taking the opposite approach, like in high school, I was always known as the Christian kid, or like around my friends, it was always like, oh yeah, no, we know Zay don't do this, Zay don't do that. And then college, it went to a whole nother level. And then after I graduated, like being where I am today, now it's like I hear when people, older people that I look up to, mentors and stuff, say like, I'm at the age where I don't care what other people think. I think that's what it comes down to. I think that because I'm so unapologetically bold about my faith, and that I don't care that anything in my life that I experience, everything has to honor and meet this level of, when I walk in a room, you're going to know exactly what my beliefs are, based on the way that I move, based on the way that I talk, based on the way that I think, based on the way that I calculate what's going on around me. And even though that was always there and always present, I believe that God getting louder on the inside of me, He gave me the opportunities to see more in those situations where I would say, hey, I know that everybody's looking at me to be this cool guy, but in the midst of the motion of this party or this function or this celebration, I'm not going to partake in any alcohol, drugs, or anything. And I believe that He started giving me little opportunities to be an example of doing something different, and then meeting me on the other side of that leap of faith of saying, God, I'm going to be open to you, by rewarding me with some small and big cherished gifts that I could actually attribute to my faith and see like, wow, I'm building my trust and my faith in God because He's giving me these small little ideas that'll come up, and I'll know or see a way that I would like to deal with it, and He will challenge me to elevate myself and go in deeper to find His perspective or His desire of me moving through situations that make me have to hold myself to a different standard. And the elevation it holds me to makes me hold the people around me to. And consciously or unconsciously, me just deciding and choosing to take that lifestyle, even with the hardships that come with it. I was just watching the podcast today. It's like, in this life, you're going to have suffering for a good cause, and you're going to have the goodness of God. And it's like, you'll always, no matter what level, no matter what you experience, no matter what season you're in, it's always going to be a balance of stewardship of the joy and the pain, the taking all of the happiness and the sorrows, taking the mountaintops and the valleys. And I think that constant tug of war, it made me realize that, choosing celibacy, choosing purity, or abstaining from doing certain things like dating in this season, drinking in this season, having sex before marriage, or any of those things, I think to others it may look like, man, bro, that sounds like a life of suffering. And to be honest with you, it can feel like that sometimes, choosing this route. But I see that by the goodness of God, it's suffering for holiness, is suffering for sanctification, and the separation that He's causing in my life that seems like it's drastic now. I'll be able to see the overturn of God showing the same faithfulness that He's shown when I was younger and I was taking those nudges. Now, those nudges of taking a leap of faith now, they're building a different type of cement. They're building a different composition of mixtures that's coming into the groundwork that's laying when He looks at my future. Because doing that to be a great role model to those around me, my siblings, my younger siblings, younger cousins, and all of that. It's like, that was one thing. But when you think about the unity of a marriage, when you think about your children, when you think about the lifestyle that's actually going to branch from you starting your own family. It's like that family is going to have a different root system,
Yeah.
and the root system can only be created to grow outwardly and above the ground when the work was put in. And I believe that this is the season of my life where I'm seeing that it is hard to till through this ground. And it does require a lot of intentionality to do so. But I'm seeing that the bloom and the progress of my growth are literally night and day compared to what it would have been for me going through the casual or comfortable elevation of getting to some of the same destinations I believe me and God both have for my life.
That's actually very good because even like I heard you in there say, one is perspective, because some people could see it as a bad thing, but your perspective sees it as a great thing for what you're building for the future. And then two, I heard, well, I don't, you didn't say this, but it's almost like you're being intentional about your intent and your intention.
Yeah.
Is that it? That's what you're doing. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Yep.
spot on because you could tell it's like you're being very intentional about your intention. And we
Yep.
always tell people to be intentional, but your intention is to the third degree.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's
no,
exactly what it is.
no, that's good stuff though. Hey, like I said, we trying to teach these folks. You gotta, if you want something different, you gotta do something different. So we on here trying to teach them. It's other ways to do this thing. It's more than one
Mm-hmm.
way to skin a cat.
Yeah.
How do you personally discern God's will in your life, especially when you're faced with big decisions?
But I think off hearing that question first, the first thing that comes to mind is the truth that I don't think a lot of Christian leaders decide to take, or the perspective or the route that I believe that not as many people that we look up to in the faith lean on the side of being as honest and transparent about. But to be honest, it's like faith is believing in something without the having the confidence or having the substance of it actually being fully mature. So if that's the case, if we're living lives of faith, there has to be a level of unknown to believe that God has a greater known that we don't understand that
Mm,
we're moving for. And I think
okay.
that so much when I look at everything in my life, I didn't know. Like I didn't yes, I had a two-parent household. I didn't have a bigger brother to bump his head for me to be able to learn it and take from. The
Right,
same
right.
way, I didn't have older siblings. Like I so much of the decisions that I made have literally been taking a leap of faith. And when I look at even me being here in Minnesota, like I'm in the thriving young 20s, heart of the prom and all of that. And it's like I'm in Minnesota. But the steps of taking a leap of faith to say, hey, you know what? I think I'm going to go to somewhere in the north that I have no idea remotely of where it is on the map, and it's nothing like the southern culture at all. Nothing like what I'm comfortable or used to, or where I want to be, where I want to raise my kids. But I'm taking a leap of faith because no matter if it's making sense or not, I don't know what I'm doing. And I
Right.
think that if we're believing in God and we serve him to come to him in a childlike wonder as he requests for us to come to him, we're all childs of God. So children follow the instructions of their leader, of their father, of their parent. And I believe that I've literally been absolutely unaware of nothing that's going on in my life. It's just been nothing but the submission of saying, God, you know what? I'm gonna put my faith in you. I'm gonna put my trust in believing that this is the route that you want me to take. And when I'm right, he'll show me with the confirmations, with the discernment gets sharper when you're taking that leap of faith and you're allowing his experiences in the other side, what's on the other side of that experience, whether it looks like it's in the alignment of what you would have wanted or the way that you would have played it,
Hmm.
you seeing the benefits both internally in your character and externally in the life that's around you, in the way that you think, in the way that you speak, and your actual lifestyle. And I believe that the materialization of what that process looks like is the sharpening of the sword. It's like every single day we're making millions of decisions daily. So
Wow.
if you look at those millions of decisions daily, when people say, "Oh, I live a life submitted to God in the Christian faith," or when people say, "Oh yeah, no, I'm keeping God first in everything that I do," it's like that's valid, but I can see that being also a pass out, or taking a cop out of not actually, if you don't apply it, living in a life of insanity. And I think that the leaps of faith and actually allowing the product of my life to resemble, not through my perspective, but actually leaning through some of the resistances that seem like the harder route shouldn't be taken.
Hmm.
I don't think that I'll have the position or the perspective to be able to share where I'm sharing from today. And I'm here to encourage that you don't have to know everything that's going on. You don't have to have every single next step in what it's supposed to be. But I would challenge you in saying this: if you can articulate to me any and everything that's going on in your life, I believe that you're not getting the challenges that you need to in faith. It's like, if you can articulate to me everything that's going on in your life, I would challenge you to say, where is God in that?
Right.
Because if you know everything that you want to do and you're doing everything that you want to do, that's valid. But if you're not moving with actually surrendering and submitted to God to put you in the alignment of what fits with His will, I believe that that's the honesty of that question is really what's going to cement the quality of your life and how much you really live, like you say you do, when it comes to your
So,
faith.
like, I'm loving where you're going with this. But okay, so like with that being said, what does the greatest version of yourself look like in God's eyes versus the world's definition?
Mm, the greatest version of myself in God's eyes. To be honest, I think that me seeking God and having a deep desire to get His perspective of that exact question is what I wrestle with every single day. I believe that the world's perspective or my perspective of my purpose, my destiny, and really my current situation in life, when I look at the perspective of my life and everything that's in it, my idea of it, this is not how it's supposed to look. It's
Hmm.
like the dissatisfaction with my present because I believe in the potential that I have is literally a great disservice, because when you talk about having a confidence in everything that you do, when you talk about the fruits of the spirit, the product of a man is not in what he says, it's in the fruit. And I believe that in the fruit of my life, everything that shows who God is the product of all of the work that I'm striving to every single day to change my perspective. It says, do not be conformed. The word says, do not be conformed to the pattern of this world, but to be renewed by the transformed mind. And when it comes to the transformed mind, I'll be the first to say, and I'll encourage others to admit that you don't, as a Christian, we always like everything is good, I'm good. It's like, no, I don't. I want things to be different. I want to be in a different situation that I'm in a lot of different ways. And my perspective of that is at the ignorance of me not knowing what God's fullness is. And I believe that that's a healthy discomfort, because it's a dissatisfaction that I believe is not coming from my version of where I think that I should be, but it's really coming from who God knows that I am. And I think that the lack of application to actually step and walk in the confidence of, I not only know who I am, but I know everything around me is moving in the alignment of what's actually best for my future. I believe we don't have that answer. And it requires daily that you are reaching out to God to get His perspective of that answer, because you live, we live in a current day and age where culture and society is going to help us to paint the picture of with the paintbrush strokes of our perspective of our lives and how we want them to look, there's going to be a new color or a new paint option that you have to use to paint brush through your perspective of life, and every single day is going to switch up. So you're going to think you're painting blue one day, but you're going to actually look up the next day and see that that was actually green. And it's like it's changing so much, the needle is changing so much that it's so hard to not be really focused on destination. And when you think about destination in your perspective, the reason that the dissatisfaction that I believe I have is in my life currently is because, oh, by this time, oh wait, no, like 27. Oh yeah, no, I'm supposed to be 100% debt free. I'm supposed to have $30,000 in savings. I'm supposed to have my first home.
I
I'm
don't know who
supposed to be
told
in the
you that
position
one.
where, is that so? It's like, man, it's like, wow,
Mm,
it's like, can you allow yourself to breathe? Can you allow yourself to actually make mistakes? Can you allow yourself to actually go through the experiences that come with this life that actually give God the opportunity to teach you something?
right.
But that goes back to what I was saying before. It's like everybody feel like they know everything, and they feel like the only way that you can be strong is by articulating that you do know everything. But I'm here to challenge that it's actually in the vulnerability of you not knowing the answers and you not knowing what you're doing. That's actually going to give the position of getting the flowers of who actually is in control and has been giving you all of the grace and the goodness and the blessings, which is God. And that's where I am with it. I believe that God is helping me to change and break off the strongholds mentally or the mind sets that have been set on giving myself a certain standard of what I think the quality of life should look like. That was never designed or never came out of God's mouth of how that's supposed to look. And
Well, I
yeah,
love what you said, and I'm just go. I got to jump in here and hit you with this one. You're 27, bro. Like, give yourself some grace and mercy, because God is giving you grace and mercy. Think about this one. We're playing. You are, whether you notice or not. I'm just saying, because you're so far ahead of the curve. You're playing an infinite game, and most people are playing a finite game. So as long as you're in the game and making ground further, chasing God's will and what He got for you, you go get there. So don't. And when I asked the question and you answered it for people, I wasn't necessarily speaking on you. I was saying just in general. You young kids, give yourself some grace, cause you 20, bro. At 27, you talking about lost. I was lost. So I appreciate that answer. So thank you for giving that. That was good stuff. How do you stay rooted in love when you're leading and guiding others, especially when the difficult moments come?
man, I believe that question right there is really the product of everything that I work for. It's the product of everything that I really live for. When I talk about the fruit and what actually is the product of my response, my decisions, my thoughts, my movements, it's in what people receive that actually is going to tell the story that I desire for it to be told. So let me break that down a little bit more.
Please.
Everything that you're doing, everything that you're saying, and every decision you make is going to say one or two things about God. It's going to say, one, that you're complaining or thinking about life in your perspective, or it's going to say, two, that I'm believing in faith and I'm pulling people either towards God or away from God.
Mm,
And
okay.
I think that the way that you answer the question of, okay, this decision of what am I going to wear today on this level that only affects you truly, I believe that that same way, when God puts you in a position where He's going to need you to choose Him in front of others, and like He said, you choose Him in front of others, I'll choose you in front of my God, in front of my Father. It's like that same way. And I believe that if you don't have enough of the practice, of the discipline, of the opportunities that you've taken advantage of in your life, where you have chosen him and chosen the submissive route, that quality or that trait is not going to be where it needs to be developed wise to be able to do the same thing in front of others. It's
Mm,
like when you're faced with an adversity or a problem where people around you are looking at you because you have influence, you reaching for something in the cabinet that's not there is going to show a greater reflection than if you had the opportunity to know at least which cabinet to pull from. And if I don't have it in my cabinet, I know exactly who to go to get it. And I
right.
think that that entire process, wisdom is not always knowing the answers, but wisdom is also knowing where to get the answers. And I think that when you look at the fullness of what that is, what is on the inside of you is what's going to come out in those situations. So when it comes to choosing love, if you don't have it in you and you're not leaning into the fruits that are on the inside, you're not going to have the fruits of the spirit to come on the outside: the love, the kindness, the goodness, the faithfulness, the gentleness, the self-control, the long suffering. You're not going to be able to even be connected with those things because those aren't going to be able to be products that come out of you, because truthfully, if they do come out of you, that's not a product of you, it's a product of him.
Mm,
And a product of him is a product of love. And if a product of love cannot be produced out of you, it's because of the vessel or what you have created, or the manifestation of what the actual source of who you are is going to be pulled out by the fruits of your character. And the fruits of your character can only be developed and actually be a product of God's design when you have given him the opportunity to actually get in there and put in the work with you. And I think that he's not, he's a gentleman. He's never going to pry his way or force his way. That's not love.
mm-hmm.
So that means if you're not opening that door, you're not giving him the opportunity to come into your life and really, really, really work. And it requires the key of submission and surrender for him to do that. But it's only in the fullness of that that love can stay around you. So to answer the question, I believe it's the greatest submission and surrender. The higher that God takes me, the higher I want to go to my knees, or the lower that I want to go in my perspective, because I'm learning that in this life, stewardship is one of the most important things. And God told me in 2023, gratitude, patience, and stewardship. This is your GPS for navigating to my purpose and my destiny and my
Mm.
vision and my will that I've placed over your life. So if I was to ask you right now, if I was to ask you, OG, or if I was to ask anybody, what do you believe that God's desire is for your life? Or what does your life look like in your perspective of you having it all figured out and everything looking right? It's like your methods of getting to that destination is going to be naturally by literally being born in sin, by the mindsets that we have, by the culture that we live in, by the environment that surrounds us. That answer is going to be formulated that fits in a way of your eyes and your perspective.
Right.
But without the gratitude, patience, and the stewardship of looking at it through God's perspective, you'll live a lifetime trying to reach a destination that you'll never reach. And I believe that choosing him every single day is how you get the opportunity taken by him to lean in and to work on you internally. And I believe that when situations arise, especially like adversity, your response to it is going to be based off the habits and the disciplines that you've created that will be the greatest impact and influence to those around you who are already looking at you for the way that you're going to respond to the adversity.
So you touched on something a while back in that, but everything you said, I very articulate. Great, you said it great. But you touched on something. I would just want to just push. You said something about the disciplines or the habits. So my point is, what are some daily disciplines that somebody can take that you can help them with to stay aligned with God's purpose for their life?
Hmm.
That you can, some you might use in your own habit, in your own day. But what can you help somebody with? Help them come up with something.
Oh, I'm going to give a cliche answer, but the cliche answer is going to be as only as beneficial to you or to the listeners as open as they're willing to be with God giving his perspective of what my cliche answer looks like. So my cliche answer is about two things: reading the word and praying.
Okay.
And
Why
those
is that
two,
cliche though?
because I think that we naturally as Christians like feel like when we have to live this devoted life to God and practice our spiritual disciplines every single day, it's like just read that word and pray to God every single day, and I promise you everything's gonna be all right. And I think that that sounds cliche. It's
That's
like
some
that's
of it,
that's
right?
always the answer that everybody uses. But to be honest with you, those are the two biggest things. And I think that the way that you show up to pray and
Mm-hmm.
read that word every single day
Right.
is going to show the measurements of the discipline that actually matters the most, because giving God the opportunity to transform the renewing of your mind, faith comes by hearing, and hearing comes by the word of God. If you're not giving yourself the opportunity to be connected with the word of God, how can you truly hear what God says? If you don't truly know what God says, when you're saying, hey, I'm praying God's will over my life, how can you be anywhere close to the idea of what his perspective or his message is of that will if you're not filling yourself with the word and going through the actual discipline of reading it tangibly? I believe is designed to be a little bit tough. It's like when we look at this life, it's like some of the
Oh, bro.
greatest things that we'll ever look at are
Right.
on the other sides of a toughness or a resistance of some sort. And I believe that you experience some of the closest intimacy when people always throw around the word spending intimacy with God. It's about quality time, it's about relationship, not about religion. I believe in all these things wholeheartedly. They literally create
Me
my
too.
idea of faith. But at the same time, if I'm reading a King James version of a Bible right here, right now,
Mm-hmm.
I believe more of my actually reading the words aloud of exactly the way that they're saying on the page, and then using the words of my mouth to articulate to my father that I don't understand what this means. And I'm actually asking him
Wow.
to explain to me what this means. I believe that that starts a beautiful experience opportunity to go through a long conversation with him of, hey son, I know you don't know what that means, but go read it in this version. You go read it in the ESV version. Okay, I see what you're saying there, but when I think about it, it really feels like it's kind of watering down what you were saying before. And it's like, okay, well, now that I've given you understanding to it, now let me take you to the NIV real quick. I want to show you something. Then you read the NIV, and it's like, okay, I think I get it now, God, but I want to apply it to my life. Okay, let me show you. Okay, it's one more step. Let me show you what it looks like in the Life Application Bible. And you read it, and now you've broken it down from KJV to Life Application. So in that entire process, you didn't get from KJV to Life Application without the prayer. You didn't get from this level of understanding to this level of understanding without breaking down what God is actually saying. And I believe that when you went through that entire process, the time that you've built and spending time with him to get you from point A to point B
Right.
is what puts you at the bottom, which puts you at the closest level of intimacy and relationship. And in that, now God can build you up from that to move forward and to move up in elevation based off of an actual true step forward. It's like the needle is moved that 1% better in that faith of you actually hearing the word, applying the word, and moving forward in the word when you've given him the opportunity to actually take you through what he said. What better way or what better person is it to tell you what the word means than the actual person itself? I think that we put too much emphasis or too much focus on being spoon fed when we don't realize that unless the spoon is coming from God Himself, we're not going to get from the word what we're supposed to be getting from
Right.
the word.
Right.
And it's in that opportunity that I believe when it comes to the prayer, you'll have more words to articulate because you actually know the nature of God's communication. You know the nature of God's communication style. Now that you know, you're meeting him with a different level, a different intelligence level of what the conversation actually sounds like, because not only are you praying from your perspective or praying from your vocabulary, but you're praying from the new word that you learned, that in your quiet time, that you wouldn't be able to extract from if you didn't actually care enough or put enough intention to fight the resistances to actually reach. And I think that when it comes to how do we live a life of relationship, how do we live a life of intimacy, I think we live a life of authenticity and being vulnerable. God, I don't get this. Or God, show me how I can apply what I just read to my life. Show me the actual practical steps. I'm not just asking you. You know how many layers we go through sometimes when it comes to these conversations that we've been having with AI and ChatGPT, or think about a friend or a family member. Like, there's so many questions, there's so many layers that we're willing to go with everybody else, but the one who it actually matters the most. And I
That's
think
actually
that
really
if
good,
you're
bro.
being real about it, man, it's like, though I said before that it was a cliche answer, man, it's really the praying and the reading of the word that's going to bring everything to life.
I got
Everything
a
to life
question
when
for
it
you.
comes to every sermon you read, everything that you hear, every book you read is going to be connected through that discipline that's created within you.
So my question to you off of that, and I agree with everything you just said, 100%. How do you suggest we go about encouraging and teaching others how to step into their God potential, their
Mm.
God given potential? Like, what can we do?
I think that's a good one. I think what we can do is the
Get them to
same
read
way.
that word in that Bible.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, read that word, read that Bible and pray. But I think it's to be a lot more honest. I think it's to be a
Okay.
lot more honest, to be a lot more transparent. I believe that,
For
you know,
us to be more honest and transparent with them, like
yes,
stop sugarcoating stuff.
yes,
The
yes,
raw report,
yes,
basically, is what you're saying. That's why
yes,
you only give them the
exactly.
real. Okay.
Giving it to
Yeah.
them raw, like
Yeah.
giving it to
Okay.
them truly, truly authentic. Because to be honest, whatever raw conversation you're not having with God,
Mm,
the product of your relationship is going to be hindered without that authenticity. God's
that's
not
good.
here to, when I say pray or when I say read this word, He's not here for you to check a box. He's not here for you to pray and say what you feel like you want Him to, what you think He would want you to hear. It's like He doesn't care about all of that because He's after your heart. So it's like, if you're not really, really connected with having that authentic relationship that's been put into actual practice and habit, I think that you can't show up the way that you need to in your faith. And to go to the next step, to the next level of it, if you're not doing that with him, who you need to be doing it with it the most, the opportunity of the humility and the vulnerability and the submission that you can have to be vulnerable with others,
Mm-hmm.
God's design or God's desire for the breakthrough that is coming in somebody's life is on the
Wow.
other side of your testimony, or how much you're willing to submit yourself to be humble and keep your confidence in him, that God's going to protect you in that vulnerability or in that testimony. And I believe that, to answer the question, I think it's honesty. I think it's true transparency, true keeping it real, keeping it authentic, keeping it raw, like keeping it fully true to the core, and sharing these experiences, sharing these testimonies, sharing these stories in a way that is literally giving the greatest glory of who God has been in your life, and showing others how they can meet with having the awareness of seeing the goodness of God in their lives, that they can actually break through the molds and the strongholds in their mind to even be open to seeing God's perspective. And I believe that unless you tap into that or move through that entire process, God's not going to be able to have the opportunity from you to have the connection or the collaboration with the true building. It's like the quality of the building of brick by your life is going to be by how much you willingly put into the process of allowing those bricks to be made with him,
I
allowing him
actually
to
love
put
that
you on
you
the
said
potter's
that.
wheel.
I actually love
Everything
that
that
you
you need
said
to
that.
go through, all of it.
Check it out.
Yeah.
I got to give you this one off what you just said
Talk
because
to me.
everything you
Talk
broke it
to
down.
me. Talk to me.
Jesus loved people in radical ways.
Absolutely.
See, the Bible, they always try to water it down and sugarcoat it.
Hmm.
But the way you just explained it, it made me think about him turning over the tables and he going
Yeah.
up in there like, see,
Absolutely.
they try to water it down like that's not raw. That's raw.
Hmm.
Like,
That's
so
as raw as it gets.
that's what I'm trying to tell you. But you got to be able to see that. Like, hold on, no, he
Yeah.
like this ain't it. Turn this
Yeah.
table over. Now, what they
Yeah.
think he turned the table over softly?
Nah.
Come on, man. He
Uh-uh.
turned that over with some noise. He making people back
Nah.
touch their backs on the wall.
Exactly. Exactly. Nah. He
So
moving with a different type of assertiveness. It's not passive. It's not. He moving. You know what I'm
that's my
saying?
point. So my
Yeah.
question is, what does that look like in today's world? And how do we live that out? How do we get to start to rub shoulders with people to help them understand that nobody's perfect, but
Mm-hmm.
you still can start moving towards God's way in whatever you've done. How do we go about doing that in today's world?
Mm.
Because if he was doing that in those times, it's harsh. It's a harder world now.
Mm-hmm.
So that means we got to
Yeah.
lean in hard.
Yeah. Absolutely. I believe that just like the word said, it is not good for man to be alone. Wait, OG, you there? You there? You
Yeah,
good?
I
Okay,
got
bet, bet. Bet, yeah, no. So just like the word says, it's not good for man to be alone.
you. Hmm.
Jesus was the biggest advocate of that. Jesus wasn't moving dolo. Like he moved dolo when it comes to his intimate time, and his intentionality was just at such a high level that there was nobody on this earth that could meet him on the consistency of what his spiritual disciplines look like, of his reading the word and praying and fasting, and having that time with God. But Jesus did move with disciples. Jesus did move with the army. Jesus did move in community. So every single time that you're out your mouth articulating that you do not need that, or you do not need someone, or you've been taught, or you've allowed the laws of your environment or the way that you've been raised to tell you that, oh no, this is good, especially as a man. Oh yeah, no, it's good. I'm gonna be okay. Like, oh yeah, no, I'm always gonna be straight. Like, I don't
Right.
need this. I don't need that. We all need someone. We all need community.
Yes, sir.
What does that community look like? The quality of that community is nurtured, it's invited, it's brought in through
Accountability. It's love.
account.
It's wisdom. It's and I just got to piggyback on everything you said. It's everything. It's everything that you told yourself you don't need. You need that. Is,
We're a
is that it?
product, man.
Okay.
We're the product of the company we keep. And when I tell you, like,
Ooh, that's a bar.
when it comes to how do we continue to sharpen the great qualities and give the support in a day and age where the culture disapproves and disvalues what's actually valuable in God's eyes,
Mm,
it's the raw report.
right.
It's
Appreciate it.
others being seen, others being encouraged, others seeing the value from people that they actually look up to, who actually take the time to let them know that, man, you doing what you're supposed to be
I
doing.
see you.
I see
Yes.
you.
Yes.
Everybody wants to be
Yes.
seen,
Yes.
OG.
Yes. I see
Everybody
you.
wants to be seen, man.
And you doing
And
your thing, right? Like you
man,
said, some
what?
encouragement. Yes.
Man, that's it, man. It's the heart
Ah,
of it. It's the heart of it, man.
right.
I heard this quote one time that said, "People won't believe a word you say until they know that you've been seen," or something like that. It's like, if they don't know that you're actually listening to you, they're not going to care to hear or listen to anything that you have to say. And I think that, like, when it comes to community, it's like, man, we need it. We need it, and we
Need each other.
thrive in the strength of the numbers. And
Yes.
the the numbers are being built based off of the quality of different things, like the boldness that we talk about of Jesus flipping tables. That's
Hmm.
the boldness of the Raw Report. That's the
That's what we
boldness of
need.
Spread Love
Right.
United. That's the boldness of somebody saying that I believe in what God told me enough that I'm going to stand up
Mm,
and live a lifestyle. What I
no
have
matter
this
what they
a
say.
lifestyle brand. This is a
Yes, sir.
lifestyle brand. It's like the lifestyle. That's the answer. Lifestyle, not what you're saying. People, that's it. People not gonna believe what you say unless you know. Okay, I'll go back to it anyway. But it's like the lifestyle. Like that's it. That's everything. The lifestyle, because everything that you're doing people gonna believe what they see before they believe what they hear. It's
Right.
like people are going to see
Character. Character.
the
What your
character,
character say. Not
the
what your mouth
fruit,
saying. What
the
your actions
fruit,
say.
the
The
character
fruit.
and the fruit, and the
Yeah, what the
character and the
fruit say.
fruit can only be properly cultivated and properly tended to like a garden every single day when there's a lifestyle that has the disciplines, that has the
Mm,
mindsets and the priorities of knowing what's important to
disciplines.
actually
Say.
cultivate that garden. And I believe that the lifestyle and the community are the two biggest things that I believe that if we can connect with and we can support true Christians, true God, children of God who are actually living in a boldness. It's like,
Spiritual awareness.
man, the spiritual awareness and the boldness, I believe, are capturing and modeling that radical nature of God that's
Right.
creating the safe spaces that can actually pour in and nurture those qualities of God to
Hmm.
raise the confidence that can find every single person finding the greatest version of themselves so that they can be a light to others. And
Hmm.
that's man, that's a life motto. Like
No, you just hit it
that's
on the head.
that's the lifestyle.
Raising the confidence of others. That's what our job is to do. Spread love united. The Raw Report. All of that. Our job is to to build the confidence of others so they can spread their light on the others also. If someone is feeling unworthy or unsure of their calling, what would you say to them?
Mm, man, if somebody's feeling unworthy of their calling, what I would say
Unworthy,
to them,
unsure. What would you
yeah,
say? What would you say that? Because we talking about encouragement, we got to encourage them. We got to get them off the
mhm,
ground.
yeah. What I would say to them is one, you're not alone.
Ooh,
And two, if as many people were really honest and transparent about their lives, you'll be able to see that the numbers of when I say you alone are so much bigger than probably what you'll ever be able to see because people aren't going to be that honest and transparent. But
mm,
I will also share that the same things that they're feeling, the same doubts that they are having, not only are they not alone, but these same things that they're feeling and dealing with and experiencing are the same exact imposter syndrome characteristics or the same
ooh,
exact not being able to believe in yourself enough that has been present all the way back to the first two books of the Bible. It's like not only as far back as the Bible itself, the beginning of the Bible.
mm,
When we look at Moses, I would share with them the story of Moses and
wow,
the story of how Moses having a speech impediment felt he was nowhere near close to when
okay,
it comes to assignment to actually be able to lead the Israelites by having connection of actually having to speak to an entire nation. That was the birth of many, many, many nations. He
mm,
felt the imposter syndrome in that moment or the not believing in himself in that moment that held him back. He was unsure. But if he wasn't sure, if he
right,
didn't have enough faith in God to believe what God's perspective of his life was, which goes back to what we were saying before. Our perspective of our life was saying, I have a speech impediment. God's perspective of our lives was that I'm going to use you to birth the nations of nations of nations
mm,
with the deliverance that I'm taking of you being my chosen and holy people. And you're going to be the leader that's going to actually live
wow,
lifestyle, that's actually going to live the application, that's actually going to live and walk with these people and go to every single level that's necessary in humility and transparency to do so.
wow,
That is going to deliver and send the greatest breakthroughs of my vision coming to life in heaven on earth in this season. And I think that I will share that it's okay to not know, it's okay to not be aware of the fullness of God's potential, but to give you the softest nudge and the greatest encouragement. A lot of the people that you are looking up to,
mm-hmm,
they didn't know. It's not always your responsibility to know, but it is always your responsibility to trust, to believe, to sit with, to walk with the one who does. And as long as you are doing that and being consistent in that and doing that with all of your heart, he will give you a peace that surpasses all understanding to guard your heart and your mind, like Philippians 4 and 7 said. And he'll give you the long suffering qualities that come from the fruits of the Spirit that a lot of times we don't mention, but long suffering, endurance, the patience that's necessary, that's going to help you to give him the time to sit with you, to walk with you, to nurture you, and to develop you the way that you need to walk through God's desire. And
Ooh.
adversity introduces a man to himself. Adversity is the one who introduces who you are to where you're supposed to be. And your perspective of that adversity is going to determine how long you're going to be like the Israelites who were in a season of 40 years that God didn't desire for them. But God had to give them more time because their heart posture and not having the perspective that God's way was better. So he had to work with that time internally with them for them to have the mindset that will give him the environment to move forward and to manifest the things in their lives. So that same way, you aren't responsible for knowing how to get to the promised land, but you have to be responsible for believing in those promises on the inside of you enough to actually get to the promised land. And I'll walk right here by your side because I myself am still not where I'm telling you that you should have the desire to be.
Start where
The
you are.
real man, the
Start where
greatest
you
way to
are.
start, the greatest way to start is to start. And I believe that we get so caught up in the way that we think and the way that we want things to look that we don't start. We don't go through the process and we
Yes,
don't
sir.
give the opportunity for him to move in our lives.
So this has been a great interview, Zay, man. I'm loving that you came on, been dropping knowledge on my people. I got some rapid fire questions. Are you okay with that? These are like
Okay.
one word answers or short answers.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Cool. Cool.
Favorite Bible verse that fuels your mission.
1 Samuel 18 and 14, in everything he did, he had great success because the Lord was with him. It's David.
Mm, that goes to
That's my
everything you
guy.
just
That's
said,
my
bro.
guy. A man after God's own heart. That was a man after God's own heart. David, he's spitting that
Okay.
fire, bro.
Look. Okay, look. Oh, that goes into my next question. You probably
No
finna
cap.
say that. If you could spend one day with one Bible figure besides Jesus, who would it be and why?
Solomon.
Why?
So it's Solomon because of the wisdom. It's Solomon because of the many seasons that he experienced in his life and his way of being able to articulate the seasons that happened in his life. That can only come from actually putting in the work and going through the process of stewarding. Like he
That's good
stewarded so many different lives. He had so many highs, so many different lows, and you can remember his lows because they were almost just as great as his highs. But at the end of the day, he experienced the highest extremes of both of them, and he processed all of that and wrapped it all up in the therapy that he had with God, the relationship that he had with God to be able to articulate in the smoothest way in the Ecclesiastes, everything is meaningless. Like
like he said,
you can,
I just want
man, what?
understanding of heart.
Man,
I just want
what?
understanding of heart.
Man, you can't deliver a message like that if you haven't really, 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 really been about it. And I think that yeah, Solomon would be that guy.
One book besides the Bible that has impacted your leadership and faith journey.
A return to love, a return to love, and
By who?
ooh, that's tough.
Okay.
So I'm thinking Return to Love and The Alchemist. Both of those
Okay.
were two books that deeply inspired me spiritually, to pursue my personal legend and to pursue the greatest version of myself. And I think that when it comes to the greatest version of myself, it was that a return to love. And I think that's why it came out of my mouth the first because it it broke me down when I say it literally cut away and challenged
Mm,
every single mindset
okay.
that I could think about of what the greatest version of myself looked like. And it gave me the awareness to be able to properly identify and articulate that God's perspective of that may be different than the way that I'm
Mm.
thinking about it. But
That's
yeah,
good
a
stuff.
return, a return to love by Marianne Williamson. It's an older
Okay,
book, but
but it's a
that
good
would
book.
definitely be the
Okay.
one. Oh yeah, yeah, that's the one.
The
That's the
biggest
one.
lesson you've learned from mentoring and leading others. What's the biggest lesson you've learned?
The biggest lesson that I've learned from mentoring and leading others is that we all want the same things. We all
Mm,
we are all literally needing and craving the same things. The leader that I've become has been from the deficit, or what I felt has been me not having it at all in my life. So I wanted to produce it for others. Like that mentorship to others, because I haven't had that mentor like pour. It's like it's here in my years of 25, 26, 27 that I'm experiencing outside of family. Like
right.
one who will really pour in time, investments, resources into me in such a huge way. And it's like now when I do that for others, it's like, oh my gosh, like I see that all these people are craving the same things. Like my mentor wanted a mentor. My the people who I'm putting on to this and that, they wanted somebody to put them on to this and that. It's like it's
Yes.
revealing in my eyes that
Never ending cycle.
it's a never ending cycle. And it's only in those willing children of God who are actually pouring and living in that authenticity that's actually keeping that cycle moving in a positive way. And yeah, man, it's definitely that we all need and want
Yeah.
the same things,
That's good stuff right there.
every level.
Okay, so I'm gonna let you go on this last question, and then we'll find out. You can leave your IG and let everybody know where to find you at.
Okay,
Um, if you could lead the listeners with one challenge to step into their God-given greatness today, what would it be?
let it all go. Um, it would be to let it all go. It would be to the same way that you seek God with a passion of God. I pray that I get that job. I pray that I get that house. I pray that I get that opportunity. I pray that I get that relationship. I pray that I get that girlfriend. If you take that same energy to saying, God, I pray that I have you. I pray that you are all I have. You are all I need. Letting go of everything help me to move through the process, because to be real with you, I want what I want, and the desires that I'm having are very, 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 very strong. But I need your help every single day to help me to break away from desire, to see that destiny is bigger than desire. And through my perspective and through my lens, I can't see it and I can't bring it to forth, but we walk by faith and not by sight. And the promises that you put on the inside of me, I think that they're coming from me, but they're actually coming from you, because it's you who are giving me the desires to want more. And that is satisfaction that I have is from the potential that you put in front of me. But me stepping into that destiny can only be received when the authenticity of the freedom of the submission of the surrender of living of life of giving it all to him to actually do that. And like I said before, opening that door, like we have to, because God's not
Wow.
going to force it on us, man. That's not love. Like it has to be
Hey,
your decision.
look, bro. I want to thank you for coming on today. Zay the
Yeah,
Prophet. Hey,
man.
if you don't mind, like I said, I'm gonna get you back on. I'm gonna need you on for
Oh
another
yeah,
show.
man. We can
We
do
gotta
this.
keep
We
this
can run this back
conversation
for
going
sure.
because there's too much. You
We
out here
on this. We
dropping
have these
bars.
conversations all
That's
the
what I'm saying.
time, every week,
So
every week
I
for sure.
appreciate you for coming on, bro. But let the people know where they can find you at, man. Tell them they gotta be able to find you.
For sure, man. So for all platforms, Spread Love United official, Instagram, YouTube. For Instagram, Zay the Prophet, that's my personal page. That is birthing Spread Love United, and also a lot of men's ministries. Iron Man Men's Ministry on Instagram, Mighty Men Worldwide _, on Instagram. Yeah, those are everything that are just birthing out of the product of Spread Love United. So yeah.
But you ain't even give them spreadloveunited.com where they can get them hoodies from. Come on, man. Don't do me like that. I know they see them hoodies fire. You out here playing.
Man, I can always lean on OG. I can always
I'm
lean on
just
OG. But
saying, if
yeah,
we gonna do it,
yeah,
let's get it. We getting it. We out here.
yeah.
We out
I
in the middle of the
definitely,
street.
I definitely appreciate that assist, man. www.spreadloveunited.com, man. Stay tuned. We have some big things coming this year, and we're excited to have you join the family.
Hey, look, already, man. Y'all hear what he's saying? Y'all go tap in with him. We go get him back on the show. But y'all already know what I like to say. Stay real, stay raw, stay grounded in your faith. And until the next time, y'all, I'm out.